All right, so this is going to be a remake of the Oracle Certified Professional video that I made when I first started this channel. And yeah, let's get to it. So the main reason I took this certification was, again, to give me a head start on WGU when I started the program. So this course, just like the Oracle Certified Associate, covers two courses in the WGU program, and that is D287 Java Frameworks and D387 Advanced Java. So you knock out two courses. Both of those, from what I've heard, are pretty tough WGU courses with one certification. The caveat to that is, though, that certification is pretty tough. I'm not gonna lie, this certification was brutal. So it goes over a lot of advanced Java concepts. It doesn't cover Spring Boot, though. That's one thing that kind of bit me in the ass later, is that it doesn't really go over Spring Boot at all. So when I hit the backend programming class, I had to learn Spring Boot from scratch. But that's a different conversation. You can watch that video. But yeah, it goes over, pretty much picks up where associate version left off. So this certification is also known as Java Programmer 2, and it covers input output, non-blocking input output. It covers concurrency, threading, generics and collections, data structures. It goes into some pretty high speed stuff. And yeah, this certification was tough. It took me a while to get through this course. So yeah, I'm gonna go over what I used to study for it, my experience with it, study time, all that jazz. I'm gonna skip over the showing you how to schedule and the overview of the exam. Quick overview: it's 65 questions, unlike the associate, which is 56, and you have the same score, 65%. I'm gonna skip over all that because it's the exact same process for the associate version, right? The same test provider. They're both Oracle. So to get an overview on that, on the scheduling process and all that stuff, you can just look at my video on the associate version. But anyways, yeah, you go on Start View, and again, once you purchase your voucher, you'll have instructions on how to access this. And as you can see here, I took it a couple months ago, back in May. This was my result. Didn't crush it, only got a 78, but hey, we passed it. So that's that. Now, as for learning resources, so there was two books that I used. So the first one was, and I'll have these all linked in the description. My primary resource was this one by Gian Boyarsky and Scott Selikoff. I really like this book. Highly recommend it. And then the other book I used was this one by Kathy Sierra, Burt Bates, and Elizabeth Robson. Also a great book. And what I really like about both these books is that they both complement each other. So like one book will explain something really, really well that maybe the other book doesn't explain as well, and then vice versa. That other book might explain something better than the other book. So they both complement each other very well. So I really like this book. This book especially helped me when it came to understanding generics. That was a pretty tough concept for me, whereas the first book helped me a lot in understanding IO and NIO. So both really good books. I'd probably recommend reading this one first, just because it's a little bit shorter. It'll get you, more warm and fuzzy with the material faster. This one's pretty hefty. I think it's like 800 pages or something. But those were the two books that I used. Now, there is a third book that I briefly looked at. It was by S.G. Ganesh and Hari Kumar. I'm not going to bother showing that book because I personally didn't get much out of it. There wasn't really anything about that book that was better about these first two. So I would just stick with these first two. And you'll see it if you go on Amazon and look up Certified Professional Java Study Guide. You'll see that other book that I'm talking about, but I wouldn't recommend it. Practice test, same thing. We used Enthuware. Again, I wouldn't have passed without this. So you get, I think it's like 7 or 8 full-length practice exams, 65 questions. Really, really good. Very similar to the real exam. Very similar in difficulty. In the real exam, you need 65% to pass. I think if you can get 80% consistently, or at the very least 75% consistently on all the practice exams, then you'll be straight for the real one. 100%. Again, highly recommend it. Like I said in the previous video, I wouldn't recommend taking any of the by chapter tests just because all the questions come from the same bank. So if you take one of the chapter tests and then take a full length test right after that, you might see some of the same questions again, and in which case the test will no longer be as effective. And then for my videos, again, I'm not a big video person, but I did use these videos to, again, give me some additional knowledge on things that I wasn't too clear on. I used Whizlabs, same thing. I used their professional course for Java, SC8. Pretty good course. I didn't watch the entire thing. I didn't need to, but I only watched, some of the topics that I needed some additional help for. And I use the same supplemental resources as I used for the associate. So there was 3 supplemental resources I used. One was called Geeks for Geeks, Coding with John YouTube channel, and Bro Code's YouTube channel. However, I will say the last 2, like the Bro Code and the Coding with John YouTube channels, didn't really help me as much for the professional level exam because those 2 mainly covered like Java fundamentals. So I didn't get as much as help, but there was still a resource that I revisited from time to time. But yeah, that's all I got for learning resources. As for study time, oh man, this took me a long time. This took me 3 months to get through, like 3 months and some change, probably like 3 months and a couple days extra. This was a tough course, but I will say back then I was still in the military, so I didn't have nowhere near as much time to study as I do now. But regardless, I think I'd spent about try to shoot for 5 hours a day studying for this, and it took me over the course of 3 months. So this was a tough course for sure. And for my background, I took this test immediately after passing the associate, so I already had a decent foundation, which is what you should do. You shouldn't just try to go for this exam right off the rip. So definitely take the associate first and then hit the professional. But even then, it still took me a couple months to get through this. It's a tough course. And yeah, finally for overall difficulty, man, I think I have to give this one a 10. This was a 10. This is by far, in my journey of getting this CS degree, this has by far been the hardest thing I've had to overcome. This was a tough certification. Even though it didn't give me 6 college credits, this was tough. So yeah, this was a tough course. I was a lot of frustration along the way, but it was worth it because I, managed to avoid having to do Java frameworks and advanced Java through WGU. But that's all I got for this. Talk to you guys soon.